Hi, and welcome back to Quilting Confections for your Friday update. My name is Heather, and today we are going to do a video on attaching a binding with a built-in flange. Okay, so here we have two pieces of fabric. The black one is going to be my actual binding, and the red fabric is going to be the flange that shows. It's just going to peek out as a little strip next to the binding. So the actual binding fabric will be cut to 1.5 inches, and the flange is cut to 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to need two strips joined together. I'm going to bind this placemat. So you're going to join your two strips together just like you normally would, like this. And I'll take that to the sewing machine and stitch 1/4 inch away and press that seam open. And I'll do the same for the flange fabric. Okay, so I've joined my two strips together. Now the next step is to sew your black binding strip to the flange all along the length of the fabric. All right, now that I've sewn the whole length of the binding and the flange fabrics, I'm going to press over towards the binding fabric. And I'll do this the whole length of the binding strip. All right, now that we've pressed the seam over towards the binding fabric, we're going to press this whole strip in half. And this is where you'll see that little flange happening. Just a little bit of that red will poke through. So we'll press this all along the whole length. Okay, so we have the binding all ready to go and to sew it onto the quilt. This technique, you're using the sewing machine to sew it onto the front and the back. There's no hand sewing involved in this at all. So we are sewing with the flange side up on the back of the quilt, and we're just going to do that with a 1/4 inch seam all the way around the placemat. I'm in the corner now, so I have the marking here for a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to stop there and lock my stitches, cut them, and now we'll turn the corner all the way back at a 45-degree angle here, and then bring it forward and carry on. So we'll continue this all the way around the quilt. So here we are at another corner. Bring your binding all the way back. So you have a 45-degree angle here, and then bring it forward. And the fold here is lined up on this edge, and your raw edges are lined up here. I like to start in a little bit when I get started sewing here because of the bulk, and I go backwards and then come forwards. So unfortunately at this point we lost our audio on the video, so I'm going to just speak over the next few clips in the next few steps. So at this point we've left a 10-inch opening where we haven't sewn the binding to the placemat. That gives us room to join the two ends together. They overlap each other the width of the strips, which is about 2.75 inches, and you're going to draw a diagonal line from the corner down to 2 3/4 down from that edge. So you draw the line, sew on the line, and then you're going to cut 1/4 of an inch away from that line and press. Be sure also to make sure that the seam between your flange and your binding matches up when you're sewing these two together at this point. So we've joined the two ends together and pressed them open, and now we're just attaching the rest of the binding between the 2 points, that 10-inch space, and just sewed it down onto the placemat. And then before I go on to the next step of sewing it onto the front, I like to just press out the binding all the way around on that side. So now we flip the placemat over so we have right side facing up, and we are going to stitch down along the red fabric, which is the flange. And right now I'm showing you how to fold in the corners so you get a nice 45-degree angle by pressing it straight out and then folding that edge over so it meets and all the points line up, the edge of the flange and the seam where the flange and the binding attach. And you can hold it there with some wonder clips, they're helpful, or pins before you get ready to sew. To start sewing, you are going to put the needle down and then raise it back up again, catching that bobbin thread. So you have both the top and the bobbin threads up top, and they won't nest on the back of your quilt. And I've raised the stitch length to about 3 or 3.5. And we're just going to sew really close to the black binding fabric into the red and slowly work our way into the corner. Once we get to the corner, we'll pivot and then carry on and stitch down the next side. All right, so now I've sewn the top stitching all the way around the quilt on the flange, and luckily enough my backing is red as well, so I have my top stitching showing here in the red, and it's kind of blends in nicely, so it's not very obvious. And that's flange binding. So thanks for joining me for this tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.